try and make that weight class. If I'm honest, it's... I know he's got his arse out behind me or something, can he? Welcome back, guys, and today we are doing the dirtiest tactics in MMA. I'm here with Lonnie Kavanagh today, who is the next flyweight champion of the world. We're first going to start off, guys, we can't not mention it, but steroids. You know, anyone that takes steroids in mixed martial art, you're cheating. Whether you've taken a little substance, whether you've taken a big substance, or whether supposedly your supplement's been tainted, it's cheating. If it's not allowed and you're doing it, it's cheating. TJ Dillashaw taking EPO. We got the likes of John Jones obviously taking stuff, and yeah, it's a sport where there's too much danger on the line to take steroids. If you was a strong man and you have a competition, you're not necessarily hurting anyone, you're just obviously trying to get that performance enhancer. But when it comes to martial arts, a combat sport where we're putting our lives on the line, obviously taking these substances is dangerous. There are the chances that we're going to get tainted supplements. We do have the USADA, it's not USADA anymore, but the UFC do the anti-doping. And we are taught, you know, to take supplements that have the informed sport, because if you take anything that hasn't, there is a chance that something in there can affect your test. That isn't really going to be an enhancer, but technically it's going to come up on the test results. So, you know, there are people out there that have had tainted supplements and, you know, deep down they're not cheating, they're not trying to do anything bad. But you do get the guys that are taking stuff to enhance their game. And that's, to me, where I think it's the dirtiest tactic that you can do in the sport. And that's why that's going to be number one on my list as for the biggest, dirtiest tactic in martial arts.
All right, sweet. So mine is going to be GSP versus BJ Penn, when GSP covered his back in between rounds of Vaseline. Especially going up against such a good grappler, you know, we don't know whether it could have changed the results of the fight or not. But making yourself slippery in between a fight against the grappler is definitely something that I'd see as cheating.
And it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Not that I do it at training, maybe I do.
I heard you shave your legs and vest them up, no?
Hey, listen, I shave my legs for fights because if it's going to help and it's allowed, it's not cheating. As Brad said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. At number two, guys, it's only right that I mention Mohamed Naimov against myself. I'm going to sound very bitter, but I can't not mention it. You know, if you saw the fight, you'll see what happened. I was kicked in the groin multiple times. Defense grabs. At the end of the round, he grabbed the inside of my glove when I was going for that finish. It was the last 10 seconds, and the ref even had to get involved and slap his hands.
That's fucking illegal.
And the most hurtful thing out of all of it was they booed me when I obviously had to take a knee after getting kicked in the groin. And if you've taken a kick in the groin, you know how painful it is, and you know it can affect your fight. So for the rest of the fight, I'm sitting there thinking about me bits rather than actually thinking about what I've got to do in the fight. It's only right that I mention that because it was only watching the fight back where I saw how dirty it was. In the moment, the adrenaline rush was kicking in and I didn't really take too much of it in. After the fight, I was pretty pissed off. You know, I was pretty pissed that he didn't have a point deducted because that would have completely changed the result of the fight. And I was pretty pissed that it never got appealed because how many times does a ref have to get involved until at least a point's deducted? So for that reason, I'm going to put that at my number two of dirtiest tactics in MMA.
So my number two is going to be Greg Hardy having an inhaler in between rounds. So in between rounds, it's banned to have an inhaler. I think Dana White said that you can have an inhaler. It's USADA approved, but not in between rounds. Dana wasn't a happy person after seeing it.
Okay, guys, at number three, I'm going to have to go with Rusumir Palhares, who held on to submissions way longer than needed to. He did get kicked out of the UFC, I believe, for it. If you've seen his fights, you'll see that at the end of the round, when he's got a heel hook on, which is a career-ending injury, the guy's tapping and he holds on for about another 3-4 seconds, which was just not necessary. He actually done the same thing to Jake Shields, which I think was strike force with a Kimura. You know, the ref's trying to stop the fight and he's just going that extra mile. So I always wondered whether he was just too in the zone and doesn't realise that the ref's trying to get him off, because I don't really understand why he would do that. But yeah, that for me is definitely got to be mentioned as one of the dirtiest tactics. I don't know if he didn't like the guys he was fighting, but yeah, you know, their career-ending injuries, and especially when the guy's tapping and the ref's trying to stop the fight.
All right, guys, my number 3 is going to be Yo Romero stalling in between rounds. I believe he fought Tim Kennedy. And if you guys watch the fight, you know what happened. He was spilling ice in between rounds, stalling, pretending he couldn't speak English. And I think it brought him like another 40 seconds. And a minute 40 break is a long time in between rounds. I think at the end of the round before, you know, he was on the verge of getting stopped. Luckily saved by the bell. And then because of the extra 40 seconds or so, he managed to recover a lot better and then eventually get the finish. Yeah, so Yo Romero is always known for a fast twitch fighter, right? He's very explosive, but he's not known for his good gas tank. So having an extra 40 seconds in between rounds to recover is definitely going to change the fight. Yeah, sweet. I can do that one.
Don't, Brad, just put your ass away, man. You don't think he's about 48 years old, would you? So at number 4, which is our final one of the day, I think I'm going to have to go with major weight cuts. Guys, there's people that have missed weight and they will still continue to try and make that weight class. If I'm honest, it's... I know he's got his arse out behind me or something, can he? It's cheating, but it's allowed to be cheating. You know, we've got a weight class for a reason. If you're fighting at 66 kilos, you've got to be at 66 kilos. The next day you walk in at 80 kilos. It's cheating that's allowed. So for me, I'm going to put that as a dirty tactic. I did used to cut a lot of weight to bantamweight. I don't feel that I ever had a weight advantage on my opponents. I feel like we was always walking in at the same. I've now moved up a weight and I definitely noticed there's a difference, but I use speed, etc., things that are my advantage, because I don't think it is just all about weight. But there are a lot of guys in MMA that are cutting way too much to get that small little advantage. I think once you've missed weight once, you shouldn't be fighting at that weight again. Jean Silva actually missed weight against Charles Jourdain. The fight went on, he won. He then went back down to featherweight again, even though he's missed weight once. And it was the last fight against Bryce Mitchell where he missed the first weigh-ins. He did make the second. But guys, when you're leaving it that tight, I think, you know, it's a bit of a dirty tactic. You know, I think that you're being a bit of a weight bully. And I do feel that that should be incorporated into some sort of regulation where you can't go over a certain amount of weight, because I do think that that is a form of cheating. But there are sometimes benefit of the doubt. If someone took a fight on short notice and then they missed weight by a pound, you know, shit can happen. Jake Hadley, I believe, done that when he took the fight on 2 weeks notice. But, you know, I do kind of feel for people in that sense, because they're trying to make the weight on such short time. But there are guys out there that are really looking to make that advantage and be a weight bully. One of the prime examples is Islam. You know, he walks in the fights at about 185 pounds, I believe, when obviously he weighs in at 155. I mean, that is a massive increase in weight. It is regulated cheating, you know, it is allowed, so I can't sit there and say it's a dirty tactic, but for me, it's a bit of a weight bully. You know, I do think people should move up when they're cutting that much weight. I do think that there should be some sort of regulation where, you know, we need to stop fighters cutting so much just for their own health. You know, people have died cutting weight. I do think that it's more dangerous than the actual fight itself. So hopefully we will see change over the next few years. But yeah, at the moment, I'm going to put that as a dirty tactic.
All right, guys, so my number 4 is going to be Sean O'Malley getting his corner, I believe Tim Welch, to corner Aljamain Sterling against Sean.
Aljo, you gotta go! Yeah!
I think it was like in the first round or second round?
I can't even remember. First, I think.
In the first round where, you know, Tim was coaching Aljo, telling him that, oh, you gotta go, and then obviously
He was pretending to be his other cornerman, wasn't he? And then,
yeah, which I kind of find quite funny, but it is definitely cheating. And
Or dirty tactic.
yeah, it's a dirty tactic. Is there a rule against it?
I think especially with how the fight ended, you know, you can't not mention it.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe it's clever. Maybe it's clever thinking. So.
Yeah, and they tried it again against Merab, but Merab clocked it and told the ref, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a dirty tactic. I'm not sure if it's cheating or not, but I'm counting that.
There you have it, guys. Those are our dirtiest tactics in MMA. Make sure to leave in the comments what you think is the dirtiest moments that you've witnessed.